Good evening. How you been doing? My name is Yerson Laverde. I am cursating didactics in licenciatura en lenguas extranjeras con énfasis en inglés. Yeah, so enough of formalities, right? Today I want to talk about the reading skills. Yeah, many times as teachers we don't know what to do when we have a text, a very long text or a very short text. Yeah, we just see it as a very normal stationary skill that we just only focus on by the moment, and then we abandon it. But it's not something that we should strive for. Yeah. In the other hand, we should use reading as a tool, and as a tool, I show you some of its usages, some of their advantages and benefits that it can present in your classes. So this is my topic, teaching reading skills in a second language. And it's a guide to principles, practices, assessment, right? Many times we don't know how to evaluate our student skills towards reading. Yeah, so we're gonna learn how to do it. I'm an expert here, so please sit and stand by. In this case, the first question is why is second language, right? Reading different and so complex. This is a question that I was making while I was investigating different authors. Sorry, I have the notes here about the names. Um, so basically, second language reading must be something that integrates many skills, many competences, right? Just like Richard and Roger says, it's important. The first thing before speaking, it's very important to have a communicative approach, right? The first thing you need to do before reading is that you understand it. And if you don't understand what you're reading, there's a problem, right? So, reading texts, very short texts, is an excellent way to start comprehending the language, right? Like understanding what they're saying to you or what you're looking at. Yeah. So, it's part of also Scrivener. Sorry, I did the research, but I don't know how to pronounce it. It's part of Scrivener's thoughts, right? That we should have like more of a metacognitive idea towards reading and learning a second language. And is that, yeah, we need to comprehend the language, but also we need to make reading something more integrate, more meaningful. Yes. Um, In the other case, we have categories, right? Reading components, L1, L2 interdependence, extensive and intensive reading. Reading that's something from Harmer. Yeah. In this case, it's very important to remind you that when you are reading, yeah, there are some reading components such as phonemic awareness and phonics, fluency, vocabulary, text comprehension. Yeah, we have to think, coming again with Richard and Rogers, there is a whole language theory, a whole language approach that we must follow as well. It's not all the context, but it's an important thing to take into account, and is that language is not something separated. Yeah, it's not something traditional, such as like direct translation method, right? It's not like the audiolingual method. No, it's not a method, right? So learning a second language should be a whole thing, a content. Yes, that takes into account the phonemic awareness, pronunciation, vocabulary, fluency, competences, basically. Yeah. The interdependence is that when we're reading a text, yes, many times teachers avoid using Spanish at all, or they only use Spanish. Yeah, so we need to find a balance about it. And the thing is that it's been researched upon, and it's very useful to use different languages to understand things that at first we can't. Yeah, so it's a good tool. Spanish, or mother tongue, when learning English, is a good tool to understand things or contexts or words that we don't know. Right? It's efficient. It's quick. But yeah, in order to progress, we shouldn't stay there. We should develop different competences such as explaining things in English. Yeah. So for being able to do that, first we can go through our mother tongue and give it a meaning. Yes. There comes the short circuit hypothesis. And also, do you remember what I talked about Harmer, right? He thought that reading should be Whew. He said some things about, the micro management of classes, right? About intensive and extensive grammar. Yeah, that's something that should be meaningful, sharing ideas with Richard Rogers. In this case, Harmer says that when we're reading, we should look for students' interests, right? But as well, we should make those interests and bring them tools and exercises for them to work on. So reading is not only something for pleasure, but also is something that we can work on, and it's a tool that we can use for developing different skills in the language. That's what we want. Yeah. So we have a symbiotic relationship. Students can read because they want and they like it about topics of interest, but also we use them as teachers because we are designers. We play a very important role as designers. We can use them texts or design them to exercise abilities like analyzing the text, like identifying main ideas or contexts, right? Third thing would be how can we prepare students' minds for a text? I am making very general ideas, but I'll show you that from these ideas you can, well, identify key factors and references from previous authors. Uh, I wrote down three categories. In this case, activating prior knowledge is very important, setting a purpose, and pre-teaching vocabulary. Those are basically part of a three-stage framework, right? That Harmer proposed. Yeah, basically is the pre, the while, and the post. Yeah. So when we are preparing students, it's important to prepare them for a text or for an activity, any activity that we can think of. So we need to prepare them because you're not gonna do the things just as fast. Yeah, you need to prepare to have a time to digest what's the thing coming. It's like in an accident. When you're in an accident, if you know what's gonna happen, you can do things about it. But if you don't, you kind of stay in shock. The advice is there that they give us. Well, what Hammer gives us is that we should activate prior knowledge using YL charts. Yes, for example, what do you know? What do you want to know? And what are you learning? Yes. So those charts is good. You can use skimming, scanning, reading for detail as well is a good tool. Yeah, we can use with short texts first to prepare them. We can use cognates, L1 and L2 interdependence right there. So, how do you say what's carpet? Carpeta? No, it's not carpeta. It's, it's other thing. Or in this case, something very similar. Pilot. What's a pilot? It says pilot. It sounds like piloto. Yeah, it is very similar. Got it? So it's just to show that every language follows very similar rules. Just like Chomsky said with the universal grammar, right? We can promote that thinking, that critical thinking and analytic thinking to students, yeah? That they need to start understanding that languages follow rules, structures, and competences that they must acquire. For example, analyzing a text, yes, analyzing a text, reflecting upon it, yes, making conclusions, identifying main ideas or key information, data, right? Dates, names, numbers, yeah. So it's very important for them to develop that not only receive, but receiving with a purpose, right? That's what Celso Murcia said as well with her cognitive and metacognitive, knowledge development. Yeah. So remember, setting a purpose to reading. We don't read because we want. That's only one goal that we have in mind, but there are more objectives behind reading. Okay, so we're gonna read this text to make conclusions. For example, it's a nice goal. There's a purpose. We're gonna read this text to discuss some ideas for a debate, for I don't know, discussion, presentation. Yes, so there it is. It's not just because. Next up is how can we promote active engagement? Well, many times as teachers, we find a lot of problems and issues by using reading, right? And is that the students aren't as engaged as we would like to, as we would like them to be. Yeah. In this case, I remember there were some authors, some references that they talked about that. Basically, Robertson and Aklam, I think they were, yes, the ESA. There is a method that you can use in reading, right? And it's basically the engage, study, and active. Yeah. We're gonna focus on the first one, engagement. That's, that's the title about. Basically, we can make the students engage into the reading, right? It's not only about the setting a purpose, but also integrate them because they are active participants in their own learning, right? So how can we do this, right? So we can make them do predictions. Yeah, what do you think is going to happen after this? Yeah, what can you predict? So you can integrate more grammar, more structures. Yeah, you can teach them more things without even knowing, without they even wanting. They start making questions too. So they feel more part of their process, and the curiosity will pick them up. Yeah. Other things you could use is using context clues or monitoring comprehension, visuals as well. Yeah. And monitoring comprehension is a good thing that also Celsia Murcia said. Like, if you're a student, you should use metacognitive strategies, right? So, a good student should know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, right? So, a good student, in other words, I put it in other words, right? So, for example, a good student that's reading, right, in a text, it knows what's the text about, it knows why we're reading the text, right, and what they can do with the text. They can discuss, give opinions, right? You know, debate. And finally, they know when to do those things. They know when to discuss, when to debate, when to give opinions, right? It's not just because that they are speaking. Yeah. So it's a good thing that we promote this speech and discourse to them that to make them realize that it's not only teacher, please, it's not only the teacher who's making it all, right? We are not that. We're just a guide. We're just a designer. We're just a tool. Yeah, they are supposed to do all the job, all the work. Next thing is, what does active reading look like in the classroom? I want you to analyze these strategies that I've been thinking of because, you know, the authors are great for very complex ideas, but they never tell you what activities you could do. So this could be helpful. And a class example could be jigsaw reading, role playing, reading or drawing. Yeah. Uh, in this case, jigsaw reading, in case you don't know, it's that you segment the groups. If there's a lot of students, you can segment it. You can segment or divide the text by an equal number of students that there are. For example, let's say there are 3 students, yeah, and there's a text of 3 paragraphs. Perfect. Each student has one to read. Yeah. So each student reads one. Yeah. They comprehend it, Richard Rogers. They analyze, they reflect upon it, they use it, they interact with it. Cells in Murcia. I feel I am naming all of them. Right? And they use it in a natural context, however they want and however they are interested in it. It's Scribner. Yeah. So we follow each and single one of the author's ideas, yes, according to the theory and the research, and is that I want you to make a conclusion upon this, and is that all the activities, all the things that we do as teachers, it must be researched, and there must be a purpose behind it. We can't fall down into activism, yeah. I am sharing with you activities like the jigsaw reading, yeah, but we are not supposed to be entertainers. Yeah, when we are reading, the teacher isn't supposed to be an entertaining. Like, what do you think? And oof, this is so good to me. Obviously, we must share with them as a, as a conversation, but we shouldn't entertainment. Otherwise, we should interact with them and make them interact. Yes, I don't know if I made myself understand. Other thing is role play. Like they can pretend they are part of the text, right? Like being one character or pretending to be one, one person in the story. Yep. Other thing, reading and drawing. I like this one, but it's time consuming. Yeah. So they must draw what they understood once they finish. Yes, or in the meantime, they can do it. Yeah, and at the end, they explain their drawings. Next slide is about how can we accurately measure reading skills. Well, this is something I looked upon is formative and summative, right? Many times, in YouTube, you search, hey, I want reading activities, or how can I teach reading in a better way? And it's gonna always appear on no cap. It's always gonna appear like strategies, behaviorism, right? Activism there. But in reality, we need to do more things just than that. We need to assess our students and evaluate how they are reading. Yes, because reading is a skill. That's a part of a major thing. Is a component of all the communicative competencies. So we need to evaluate it and grade it. Yeah. Obviously, there is the qualitative, quantitative, etc. Yeah, but we're gonna focus on this one, which Jeremy Harmer proposed, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, like thinking about language and assessment as a process that's not segmented. Yeah, formative. It could be an assessment and evaluation for giving them keys or clues for how to improve and progress upon different challenges. But also we have summative that's like grading all the process and the progress they had. Yes, so there's one by moments, and the summative is by all the process they've been in. And I feel this is a great idea. Many times the students don't know what they're doing or they feel lost. Formative assessment. Yes. It's on you how you grade them. I hope in a good way, yeah. But summative as well is good because it represents a better idea of what the student did in all that process, in all the time. Other key methods that you could use for it is multiple choice testing. This is the standardized. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe you understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's the ABC test of all life. Yeah, you select, you read, and you select an answer. Then this is efficient for when you don't have a lot of time as a teacher, right? And you just want to check if they remember and memorize things. Yes, but the problem is there. Yeah, like we shouldn't, just like Scrivener and Robertson and Aklam say, the curriculum and the things that we design for our students must be meaningful. Yeah, and if we do constantly these tests, like just for memorizing more than analyzing and comprehending the text, it's just like they are guessing the answer, and there isn't a real progress. So the evaluation isn't formative nor summative. What's happening? Yeah. So we have to think out this method a lot. Yeah. And there is another ones like the return recall method. Basically, is what you remember. Yes, you have a paper down, and the teacher gives like some minutes there for students to write down what they remember about the text, detailing it in their paragraph. I like this one, it's good, but it's gonna be difficult for people who have problems with memory or specific information. Nonetheless, it's a very good evaluation, in my opinion. Other thing, close reading tests. These ones, I don't remember well what they were about. What I remember is hmm, that they were like a chart where you wrote down pros and cons, benefits and advantages. I don't know, like you tried to analyze the text that you just read and you gave an outcome. You produced knowledge. Yeah, for example, the text was about a trip that someone had to France, So the student is gonna write about, oh, I'd like to go to France too as well. I think, yep. So he's gonna use the text for his evaluation. This one is very good, but the issue is that it's very time consuming and it could be sometimes frustrating for students who are starting. Yeah. Well, let's continue, go on. How can digital tools support second language reading? In this case, digital tools are amazing. Like I am a presential teacher, right? Like I'm not remote. I go to my classroom there and it's face to face. Personally, I love it. Yeah. But if you are in this age and time, you're gonna notice that you need technology more than ever because you can make literally everything you want, anything, and there's materials and resources just as quick as you want it. Yeah. So in just a blink, you can personalize or adapt different tools or material content. For example, I wrote down some of them. Read theory, yeah, that's a very good tool you could use for reading. Content generation, like if you want, let's say I want a short text and I don't want to search through the millions and millions of web pages that could have one. I ask Gemini, ChatGPT, right? Give me a short text for my students for this and this and that. So try being very specific, please. There is one like Twee that's customizable exercises. Like, hey, I would like my students to remember or memorize specific information. So I want exercises about that. Okay, there you have it. Oh, I would like to make a conversatorio. Yeah, okay, there you have it. They think it for you, and that's very time efficient. Yeah, it's not time consuming. It's very useful, in my opinion. Personally, in my career, my job, I use it and it works great because you are the one who evaluates if that text is appropriate for the class or not. Sometimes it's not, so you have to change some things. But well, it's like one in a thousand times. Assistive technologies such as captions or audio assisted readings. This one is good. For example, many students always ask me when they are reading, "Oh, teacher, how can I improve my pronunciation, my reading?" Yeah, they could use it. Like try to hear or listen the text, right? Like someone is speaking or reading the text aloud, and you follow along. Yes, so you could use it with a tool or with technology and application. I don't know, or you could use assistive technologies or accessible technologies. Uh, my conclusion, right? This is gonna be very good. As a conclusion, right, I just named you all the theory that I am basing my research on as a reading expert, and is that we teachers we play a very important role in our students' education because we are a guide, we are a facilitator, we are a designer in our curriculum, right? We are an evaluator, man, we are almost everything, but it's because we need to adapt to our students' needs. Yeah, but I want you to think as well that many times what the student needs, many times that when the student wants something, it's not what they need. Yeah, I'll repeat it again. Many times when students want something, is not what they need. Yeah, like they could want, I don't know, to read a text about cars, right? Yeah, but many times it's shallow, right? Many such cases has been seen. The students want to do something else from progressing, so they just be stuck receiving information instead of interacting with it. Other conclusion that I want to make about this is that all the theories that we have seen yet, it's just interconnected. It's not like, oh, this is the best teaching theory for English or second language skills. No, I focused all this theory upon reading, but you can use it for nearly everything. Yes, like we as teachers can't blame or segregate knowledge just because it's more up to date or it's because it is different, right? No, for example, Richard Rogers, that communicative language teaching method, it has been so criticized, but some parts of it, some points of it are very good and you can apply them, right? So every single theory, every single knowledge, idea, concept can be used depending on the context and the situation. For example, Richard Rogers is very important to understand language before speaking and producing. True, yeah. Salsa Murcia, the student has to appropriate, yeah, make their own process their own, right? To be autonomous and have metacognitive skills. True. Harvard. Harmer says that we should follow a framework, a curriculum, because teachers are designers too. So we have to think out what our students are gonna make with purpose and meaning. Yeah, not just because. With their three segmented, the three stage framework, pre, while, and post. Perfect, man. We are more organized than ever. Robertson and Aklam, yeah, they talk about scheming, scanning, all these things. Um, they also talked about, if I'm not wrong, sorry, I forgot a bit. Well, I owe you that one. What I remember about them is that they talked about something very, very important. It was intensive or extensive. I think that was Harvard. Well, Harvard, intensive and extensive reading. Yes, we have to make students be part of their learning as something interactive and not just passive learning. Yeah, so they can produce as well. They can develop their competences being more holistic. Scrivener talk about something similar, and is that when we're reading or we are learning something, we have to interact with it as well, challenge ourselves into a more metacognitive approach, just like Salsa Murcia said. Yeah, and that's my conclusion about it. Like teachers, you must investigate. It's very helpful. Yeah, and if you don't, you're gonna be left in your classroom realizing that you do the same things every day, nothing changes. You don't feel self-fulfilled because your students don't feel it. Yeah. And you're gonna feel hollow or shallow because your job is not enough. We don't want that, right? We want better opportunities, better, a lot more progress to our students. So let's strive towards it. All right. Thank you so much. This was the author. These were the authors I used. Is used Richard and Rogers, Salsa Murcia, Harmer, Robertson, and Aklam, and Scrivener, and many other things. Crashing, Michael Long, whatever you want. Thank you so much for watching.